Adam Laxalt will win that seat by a very small margin. I wouldn't be surprised if it's less than 1%. Hello everyone, welcome back to Luis Discusses Everything. And today we're going to discuss the 2022 Senate election prediction from my perspective. This is as of October 30th, 2022. And I wanted to make this video because so many things have changed in the forecast for the 2022 midterm elections that I really needed to update this forecast. We're about a bit more than a week away from the 2022 midterm elections. So here's the update. So far, according to the 538 Politics forecast, Democrats have a 53% chance of capturing the Senate. And if we scroll down to the forecast itself, it used to be that the Democrats had a much higher chance. I think the last time I did the forecast was pretty much, they had probably like a 57% chance, almost like a 60% chance the last time I did this, an update video. Now they're down to a 53% chance. And that has to do with a number of factors that I will go through. And that is because most of the polls in all of the competitive races for the Senate have inched closer to the Republican Party. The most recent polls that have come out have put all of the Republican candidates ahead or slightly ahead, which is a notable change from what the pattern was just a couple of weeks ago, where you had the opposite happening, which is Democrats having more of an advantage. So that was just 3 weeks ago. And now, 3 weeks after, you have the opposite happening. Everything reverting back to the mean, because this is a midterm year in which the party out of power, the Republicans in this case, are favored to win. So let's quickly go down to the Senate forecast and look at each individual, the most competitive individual races that I think will be notable during this time. And you will notice that they have decreased. Now, the last video I said that there were a couple of notable competitive races, and there used to be a total of 7, if I'm not mistaken. Georgia, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Wisconsin, North Carolina, New Hampshire, and Ohio. So 8, not 7. 9 with Florida. Those were originally the most competitive races, but that has just dwindled down because all of those other races that I mentioned have gone further and further in favor of their respective parties or the candidates that they were ahead of. So in these cases, Ohio, North Carolina, Wisconsin have all gone in favor of the Republican Party to a point where I don't think it's going to reverse. The same thing has happened with New Hampshire, and the same thing has happened with Florida. Florida more so, with a 93% chance of victory for Marco Rubio. So I'm going to just talk about the 4 most important races, the ones that are going to determine control of the Senate for the next 2 years. And that is Georgia, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Arizona. So let's start off with the state of Nevada, which is one of the most important races in this cycle. Last time around, I gave this state a tilt categorization in favor of the Republican. And in this case, my opinion has not changed. I think this state will, in fact, go to the Republican Party by a small margin. And that is reinforced by the fact that since the last prediction that I had on October 22nd, there has not been a single poll where Cortez Masto has led. So all the last 4 previous polls, even in the high quality ones like the Trafalgar Group or the YouGov, have seen Laxalt ahead, the Republican challenger. And even in the polls have Laxalt up by a very small margin. Now, there is a chance, because in the last time this seat was for election was in 2016, Cortez Masto was popularity was underrepresented. She outperformed the polls by almost 3%. So you cannot count out Cortez Masto at this point. I think she still has a possibility to win, very much so. This is a toss-up, but if I had to choose, I would say that in the state of Nevada, Adam Laxalt will win that seat by a very small margin. I wouldn't be surprised if it's less than 1%. Moving on to the next state, we have the state of Georgia, which is one of the most consequential ones. In the last prediction, I had Raphael Warnock winning this state, but in this case, I would say you have a situation in which Herschel Walker is leading. He has a 53% chance of capturing this seat according to the 538 Politics forecast. And the reason being is that this race has basically followed the patterns of the national sentiment. Since the last time we checked, did this forecast, Walker has been leading in almost every single poll. You see the same pattern that you see in Nevada, where you also see the Republican challenger leading in every single poll. So it has more to do with the national sentiment than the actual race itself or candidate quality. And for that reason, I think Herschel Walker is going to win in Georgia, but by a tilt margin. It will go down to a runoff, and I think he will end up winning, given what I'm going to say in the next two Senate predictions. The next one will be the state of Pennsylvania, and this is a notable change. Like, Fetterman has just been losing support for weeks now. So much so that I have changed my categorization for this one. In the last prediction, I still gave Pennsylvania to John Fetterman, but I think now I'm giving it to Oz because of his performance in the last debate, which was I think last week, where it was evident that John Fetterman was just not himself. Like, the stroke really affected him. That is not to say that he cannot win this seat. In fact, 538 still has him as the favorite to win this seat. But in my opinion, given the polling misses of 2020, 2016 in purple states such as Pennsylvania, I still think that I would rather be Oz than Fetterman at this point, and I will give the state to the Republicans by a tilt margin. That gives Republicans 52 seats to Democrats 47, but I'm not done. The last state in my list is actually Arizona, and in comparison to his peers, Mark Kelly has run a very good campaign and is still leading despite the overall trends of Republicans leading nationwide. In all of the polls, ever since my last prediction, he has still consistently led in each one. I think, with the exception of Data for Progress, has them even, but his challenger, Blake Masters, has just not been able to make any inroads in this state. It has definitely narrowed down, right? It was as high as 83% all the way down to 70% chance. And the similar thing in the polls, he was up by 51%, now is 50%. But I still think that Mark Kelly will win, but also by a tilt characterization. So very, very close race on all of these. And this, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on who are you supporting, I think this is what the Senate will look like probably a week after Election Day. I think the Republican Party right now has a lot of momentum. I think they will win the Senate with 52 seats to Democrats, 48 seats as of October 30th, 2022. This could change, but time is running out for Democrats. And I think their window of opportunity is closing with all of these races tending towards the Republican Party. Surprising thing could happen. Cortez Masto could outperform the polls in Nevada and win the race. And John Fetterman can pull out a surprise victory in Pennsylvania. Same thing can be true in Georgia. Like all of these races could go to the Democrats, but it's just the likelihood of that happening is going down significantly. But I still see, I mean, the Senate is still a 50-50 proposition. You see it on 538, but you also see it amongst all the consensus map. Even the consensus of pollsters, as you can see here, the list, they still have the Senate pretty much tied at this point. And they even still give Pennsylvania to Fetterman. But I just think that at this point, the Republicans are favored in the Senate 52 to 48. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe to the channel, share this video with your friends. Leave a comment in the video as to who you think will win the Senate. Maybe you disagree with me or agree with me. Who do you think is going to win these individual seats? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.